Welcome to Between Three Witches, where we talk about witchcraft in plain sight, everyday magic lived honestly, and it's hosted by three witches: me, Gail the Witch Next Door,
me, Vicky the Wheelie Green Witch,
and me, Anon, the Anonymous Witch.
We all walk different paths with different levels of experience, but we share a deep respect for the craft as it is actually practiced, and not the dramatised version that people expect. Today's episode, we dive into a topic that always gets people talking, and we are back for round two. It's the basics of witchcraft and the terminology, because we couldn't squeeze it into one episode. So let's hope we can squeeze it into two. But before we get into all of that, how have we been since the last episode?
Really good. Really good. I transported myself back into 1990, turned my phone off, and had the most fantastic and relaxing and very grounding time. So I am all good.
Oh, it sounds amazing. So lots of reading, relaxing, no scrolling.
No scrolling, had a complete media break, which was really nice. I do need to get back to it though, but it was well worth it. I would say do that. Everybody take a week off from scrolling. It was amazing.
I've been quite tired, to be fair. Like I was talking to you both about it. I think hormones are starting to knock at my door, which is delicious. I think the moon has had a lot of things to do with it as well. But no, I'm starting to feel a bit more back to normal. And I honestly think the clock change has helped. Normally, it takes me a good week to get back to any kind of what time are we, where are we? But I think the lighter evenings, the lighter mornings has really helped.
Oh yeah, such a relief in it when the clocks change, and I still hear the birds chirping actually, and it's like late evening here now, so it does make a massive difference. But I feel you as well. I've been feeling quite emotional and questioning whether it's hormones, because it probably is, but it's also the full moon tonight that we're recording, and I have definitely felt it this week. It feels quite like I need to do a lot of shedding and reevaluating. Pretty much what a full moon does, it highlights all the things that you've been ignoring. Probably too much scrolling, like Vicky's just acknowledged, but I'm going to a full moon ritual tomorrow, which I am so excited about. It's in a yurt in a part of where I live, and I've been there before to a yoga session, but this is a full moon specific session with a group of women, a couple of hours. But it's also, what I'm really excited about is there's an outside sauna there. So they do a sauna ritual straight afterwards, and they've got a cold dip. It is the most beautiful place. I am well excited. So my whole evening tomorrow is going to be no social media, although I probably will take pictures because I can't help myself, but I won't be. I'll be sitting in circle with other women, sharing the energy, hopefully shedding some of the things that have been weighing me down. And yeah, I can't wait for that. I love a full moon ritual. That is for sure. But are you guys doing anything for the full moon?
We'll probably go under the moon. I'll go under the moon. I have a little moon patio.
Oh, nice.
With a little fire pit, and I'll probably go and sit there for a bit.
In my mind, I've got, when you said I'll go under the moon, I feel like you're going to be naked under the moon. I don't know why, but
Yay!
I won't
not
do
this
that to
time.
neighbours. No, I won't. Maybe if I had a tent, I would with an open top. No, I'll save the neighbours from that.
Well, everybody thinks that's what us witches do. We get naked under the moon. So, I just had to check.
I normally like speaking to the full moon. I always have since I was a little child, really. So no big ritual, I guess. It's just going to be me speaking by an open window and just having a kind of general conversation, I think, and just asking how the moon is for once, rather than that beautiful bitch up there listening to all my problems.
Yeah, I love that. And do you know what? The reason I asked is there's a lot of questions around this time on social media. I get lots of inboxes about what ritual should I be doing? How should I focus on this? And actually, just going and sitting under the moon is enough, and having a conversation is enough, or getting
Yeah.
naked if you feel called to. But the point is, it doesn't need to be the big rituals. I'm fortunate enough to share that space tomorrow. But we don't have to either. Like, not everything needs leaning into, I think, is the reason I brought that up. Okay, so basics of witchcraft and terminology. We will pick up where we left off. We are still on some of the key terms. And the one that we didn't get around to is grounding. And actually, it sounds like we've all had a bit of a week where we need to lean into grounding, but what does it mean to you, Anon? in terms of grounding? Do you do it? Do you do it enough? Is it a big part of your practice?
Oh, 100%. I think both protection and grounding for me is fundamental to my practice. It's a way of stabilization, stabilizing myself, my emotions, taking back all the layers. Essentially, what I feel about grounding is that it allows me to just be still and to be quiet and to allow myself to listen to the universe, to listen to my inner self, my higher self. And like we've been talking earlier, sometimes the world, social media can be loud, it can be heavy. And grounding is a really important practice for me to just stop, to press the pause button. It's also about protection, but it's just that important aspect of, yes, doing it from a visualization point of view, that kind of classic imagining the roots, growing from your body and embedding itself into the earth. Or it can be something physical, like a physical touch, touching the actual ground with your bare feet, or even with your hands. It's just a beautiful process for me.
Yeah, so it's actually the thing I do the most. Even though I was talking, I feel a bit untethered this week. But grounding is something that I do every single day without fail. And I think, like you say, it's a protection for me as well. It's not just about feeling rooted and making sure that I'm coming back to myself, but it is also a way to protect my energy as well without letting it go out. But protection for me, protection, even grounding for me, and the things I do to ground is simple activities, like you say, the visualization about seeing roots growing out from underneath my feet. And I can do that sat at my desk, I can do that walking around as well. But I do like to hug and touch trees and touch grass. Today I touched one of my favorite trees and it's covered in moss. And I just spend a couple of seconds, even. It doesn't need to be like a hugely long practice, but just taking in deep breaths, anchoring myself into that moment, feeling into the earth energy of the tree and of the moss. Oh, it's so soft. If I wasn't so self-aware, I'd probably be rubbing my face against that tree if I wasn't thinking somebody's going to walk by at any second. I don't mind them seeing me touching it. But yeah, if I'm rubbing my face against a tree, I might try and do that in private. But for me, grounding is something that is absolutely essential in magic, maybe even before protection. And because I think they are one and the same. So when we're doing spell work, grounding before that spell work is absolutely critical to make sure that you understand exactly why you're coming into that space as well. So if you can't visualize, something I've got in my toolbox is an oak wand, and it doesn't need to be a wand, it could just be a piece of oak or it could be a stone. And if I need a bit of extra visualization, I will hold on to that, and it brings me back to a favorite tree of mine that I don't visit that often, but it's a beautiful, very old oak tree. But anyway, that's my kind of grounding practice. So if you do find it's a hard thing to visualize, and actually I've had some of these questions recently as well, you can touch something to ground. You can use something to smell as well, if you like the smell of pine or essence, or incense even, or something that reminds you of something that's grounding and anchoring. You can use touch, smell, sound. You could put like earth noises on around if that helps you ground in. So it doesn't have to just be about visualization, because I know that's not always for everybody, but I can visualize and I always find a spot in my mind where I go back and ground. But there are also other things that I do, like holding my wand, like touching stones, like having incense on that's got a certain aroma to it as well. But grounding for me is not just about recentering myself. It's something I do before my magic. It's something I do before I go to bed, actually, even. Something I think about before I wake up in the morning. It's not just an intention of feeling grounded. It's about making sure I'm anchored into the energy of the day as well. And that goes back, funny enough, we were talking before about how hard our week's been before we came onto the podcast. But I do give myself a hard time sometimes because I forget I do that every single day. Even though I feel untethered sometimes, it's a great way to come back to it.
Well, I use touch a lot. I can't actually feel my feet because that is part of who I am and part of my condition and everything else. So I use my hands a lot. I ground through my hands. I can visualize, so I do visualize, but I like to hold a heavy stone. I literally got a few stones that I've picked along my journey on different things and go, that's my grounding stone. Keep a moss bowl indoors. When I can't get out and about, because sometimes that happens, I've actually got moss indoors. I've got a moss bowl indoors that I can actually just touch. And I ground all the time. Again, before any work-ins, before I make any big decisions. It's not something, I know some people say grounding with meditation, ground yourself first before you meditate and imagine the roots coming down. And that works really, really well. But also, it's not something floaty spiritual. It's about coming back into yourself, which is basically what I did for the whole week, last week. So
and moss, I
moss,
use moss to make my abundance bowls sometimes, but you're right, having a moss bowl would be incredible. Like, ignore the abundance stuff because it's such a gentle, slow-paced energy that's attached to moss as well. You know me, I go down a whole rabbit hole with my affinity with plants, but the energy that gives off, if that's an option to anybody listening, to be able to create some sort of moss, or feel it when you're outside, because it's everywhere. It's even in the cracks of our pavement, for goodness sake, because it's so slow and steady and doesn't hold back. It's a beautiful grounding plant, I
it
would
is.
say.
And I think I'm not I'm not pushing moss bowls, but if you live in a flat or you've got a chronic condition and you can't go out all of the time, actually moss bowls are really quite easy to keep, and you can have that near you. So if you can't go out for the day because you're too tired, you've got chronic fatigue, you're in too much in pain, actually that can really help. That grounding using the moss bowl can actually really help. It's just one of those things.
But it's a really good air purifier as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's yeah, really good for that as well. Okay, so this one, the next one then, protection, is quite a broad subject. I think maybe we'll touch on the basics today, because actually I think protection could be a whole bloody episode in itself, and what it means in different practices, what it means not only energetically from a personal perspective, but also from a spirit-led perspective. So maybe we'll just go around the energetic protections for ourselves and what that means.
Protection, then, if we're going to just briefly talk about it. Again, it's part of my fundamental parts of my practice. It's a way to set my boundaries, whether that be symbolically, energetically, like what you were mentioning. Emotional boundaries are so important, and I think a lot of us can forget to mention that. But it's also physical. So when I view my spiritual or energetic protection, I also view it as, like we hear a lot of people saying, are you going to leave the front door open or unlocked? You know, are you going to leave your bag unattended with your purse in there or your wallet full of money or your phone on show? And it's about really thinking about the different layers. It's really thinking about whether you're going to work more on an energetic level, again, visualizing a shield or some form of barrier. It's also cleansing your space. It's cleansing your physical body as well, like we've mentioned previously. Like what Vicky was saying, and I love this, it can also be carrying an object that can represent protection, whether that be a stone, whether that be jewelry, or something that ancestors have handed down, that you view that as some form of protection. For me, this is so important. It's verbal protection. It's okay to say out loud to a person or energy or something spiritual, no.
Words are spells. And we hear this as just a flippant comment all the time, but what we say shapes our reality, and it also has a magical impact. So when we say no, that is such a magically defensive act. And it's not always about going no bluntly, but it's having that enforced boundary of a no. It does get thrown around going words are spells and no as a boundary. Like, those levels of protection should not be underestimated. Boundary work and personal boundary space with others is a huge one.
Half of protection is actually being grounded enough to notice when something's off, which is why I'd actually put grounding before protection, which is
Me too.
May irritate people.
No, me too. I think grounding's the first level of protection, to be honest.
They're almost on a level basis,
Mm.
but I put grounding first because you're more likely to notice when you might need to put protections in. I have layered protections. Some of them are wards, so they're a bit more of an ongoing type protection that I will look after. Energetic protections, I will use candles as protections if I'm doing a particular work in. But the main thing is it's just drawing that boundary and being grounded enough to know when to draw the boundary, when something feels off, or actually pop that in before something feels off.
And that's the key, isn't it? And that's what we want to really reflect to beginners, because protection does run very deep and it is fear mongered across social media spaces when we start working with spiritual energies and deities and make sure you put your protections up. But then everybody goes, well, what the flipping heck is protection? What does that mean? What
Yeah.
am I protecting myself from? So first and foremost, before we're going into that deep dive spiritual work, like most people are not doing that kind of work. So you don't need to start worrying about doing the hella loads of protection. You need to just start with yourself. So when you are ready to start moving into much deeper levels of work, that's when you start investigating those deeper levels of protection, which we're not going to go into in massive details. Like you say, warding is one of them. There's different levels. And actually drop in the comments, because we are open to doing a whole podcast on this, because I think it's worthy of that. But just as a beginner touch base, make sure that you've got your boundaries, you're grounding yourself, you understand when your energy feels off, you understand when other people's energy may be impacting you. And if you are going to start doing spell work or working with different entities, understand what it means to protect yourself energetically. We couldn't go through all the whys and wherefores within this one episode, because otherwise we're going to have 17 episodes of beginners. But some of the other things I do in terms of protection is I wear my protection in terms of sigils and symbols and crystals. So I'm bloody laced in it. I've got evil eyes and pentagrams and all sorts of things, different crystals for different things. Tourmaline's a witch's favorite, but it's also a great transmuter of energy. Every day I kind of layer that up as I go on my day, but you can also work with herbs in that way as well. If you want to carry a sprig of rosemary, for instance, in your back pocket, remember to take it out before you do the washing. But you get the gist. So there are things that you can work with in terms of that. And then just like simply energetically protecting your home. So I love iron. Iron is a great folk magic protector. I have iron in several areas of my home. That could be railroad spikes, it could be iron nails, iron keys, all of those type of things. But iron I absolutely love. And I know Anon may speak up about this, because iron does sometimes get linked to warding of or protection from fairy
Yeah,
folk.
so I don't use it.
So is that actually, we might go off on a tangent a bit here, but does it protect from the fae as well? That's probably why I've got no fae then. Because
Well,
I'm
I
ironed up.
have got I've got a weird stance on it. So far, I haven't heard anybody else say this. I think I mentioned it on one of your Patreon lives, Gail, where someone was asking me about this, and I view iron, although I don't use it, I view iron as something that is from the land. And how I work with the fairies is that, in my experience, to keep them away, I would use man-made products. So
Ah.
things like litter, things like plastics, are things that I have found that they seem to detest. So I would say iron is, yes, it's man-made, but it comes from the earth.
So where I live, there's actually a natural iron strip that runs through the earth. And so the earth is really, really, really red. And I naturally live on a whole big swathe of iron. So I don't tend to use iron nails and stuff for protection within my garden,
Yeah.
because I live on top of it, basically. So I use other protections.
Oh, that's amazing though. But look how different we all are with our different views. And that's a really important factor, right? That we all got different ways that we practice. I absolutely love iron, so don't come near me. It's heavy too. I will swipe you with it. But no, I'm really interested about that fairy one. And as you know, I've just been gifted a book called The Fairy Courts by Morgan Damer. I hope I've got her name right. But the fairy courts is about Scottish fairies, Anon. It's the fairy
Yeah.
courts, the Seelie and Unseelie. And what I did read yesterday is that Unseelie is actually a modern viewpoint. Like that terminology was never used. It was that they were always Seelie. But another thing I do around my home as well is like put bells on my doors,
Yeah.
sigils on things as well. I've got evil eyes as well, knocking about the place.
And
So
houseplants.
Yeah,
houseplants.
I was going to say flowers. Yeah.
Oh my God, yes, I've got several houseplants. And as you know, I did just kill one because it absorbed too much negativity in my office from work. From a basic standpoint, like we say, it's touching upon making sure that you're energetically protected and your house is, and cleansing and grounding and all of those simplistic ways of protection. When we look at the heavy protection as we work deeper into our practices, we are happy to talk about that, but it's probably not for this episode.
And I think, just to add, from my perspective, when you're starting on this path and you're not necessarily doing the big heavy stuff, actually maybe don't overprotect yourself. That's going to sound counterintuitive, but what you don't want to do is block yourself off from everything. You don't want to lock yourself into a little box. That's not necessarily the best way to go with it.
Okay, so coming on to common tools and what they mean. So an altar, what does that look like in your practice? Maybe I'll go first because I never ever show my altar on social media. That's a personal preference. I don't judge people who do it. Plus, my altar is an absolute shit show, if I'm honest. And everybody's expectations on social media is that it's perfectly curated and I can see it from where I'm sitting. It's blocked in my shed. So when I record, you can never actually see my altar space. But I do have a seasonal candle, which I do share online every fire festival, as you know. And then I've got lots of personal things. But altars, an altar for me is a place I come back to. It's the place I do my spell work, my specific spellcraft. But it's a place where I hold things that are meaningful and important to me at that time. So it's ever changing, ever evolving, and it's not aesthetic is my biggest point to make here. There are no rules for me. I think when I started back years ago, I remember really focusing on where I thought everything should be placed. And as I learned and educated myself, I understood that was a very Wiccan belief that you have things in certain angles and curated in certain ways, and you have to have certain elements covered on your altar. Well, you don't. I mean, you can if that feels authentic and genuine to you, but it's also not necessary. An altar for me is a place where I commune, where I put my respects for everything that I've got, like my gratitude place, as well as my respects for all of the all of my spirit team that I work with, because that's just an area I could go to. But it's difficult for me to talk about everything that I place on there because it is very personal to me. And I think that's the message I would give to anybody. It needs to be personal to you. There are no fixed rules, but that's what an altar space is. And actually, traditionally, like through all of religions, there's lots of different types of altars as well, that do have different rules. But from a witchcraft practitioner perspective, that's my view. What about you, Vic? What's your altar? Is it a shit show? Is it
Yeah,
perfectly curated?
I've got a couple of shit shows actually. I don't. The ones you see online from me are set up for online. I do not show my real altar or altars. I have an outdoor one.
I know, I'm so jealous. Why have I not got an outdoor altar, man?
I just really like plants and the earth,
Well,
so
yeah,
I've got I've got an
amazing.
outdoor one. I have an outdoor one. I have an indoor one. Everyone just stays well away from, and it is a shit show. It's personal to me. It's got the things that mean something to me, or if I'm working on something, particularly for a particular working, I'll do my workings at that. I'll move it around, and I don't necessarily say, "Oh, this has to be here and this has to be here." I literally say I want to do a particular working. I'll actually look at my altar and go, right, how does this need to be for that? So I will change mine around quite a lot. Lots of gratitude there. Lots of just breathing and a bit of grounding there. Tend to do my workings there, which is why I like to do workings outside as well. I have a couple of different areas where I do workings outside. Got a little area in the garden specifically for that.
Yeah, I
But I
love
do have
that.
a
I
little
don't
altar
think
there
my
as well.
garden's big enough, to be honest, but maybe that's
You don't actually need that much
future
space, to
me
be fair.
thing. But do you know what? I feel like altar, like being at my altar space is such a personal, private moment. If it was in my garden, I'm not saying I want to hide from my family, but it just feels it needs to be
I've tucked mine away with a few
tucked
little
away.
hedges.
Yeah.
Yeah, tucked mine away.
Well, I think I've said this before. I would say my main altar is nature. It's outside, whether that be the coast, whether that be a specific part of the forest that I enter very regularly. And it depends with the kind of energies that I want to work with as well, or the spirits. I'll go to specific places. The majority of the altars I have inside my house, no one would know they're an altar, but that's my preferred practice. So, like I mentioned before, I have ancestral altars, which can be as simplistic as a photo frame. And I think that's important for me so that when, my children's friends come over, they're not overwhelmed by iconography or images, and they're not going back to their parents or guardians or loved ones to explain, I've just seen a goat head
Oh my God, how
with,
many kids
you
have you
know,
got over your house? It sounds like you're
oh, they're
that
here all
witch
the
down the
time,
road
man.
where all the
They're
kids
here
go.
all the time. I can't get rid of them, man. They eat me out of house and home.
Our house used to be like when my children were small and they lived with me, or younger when they lived with me. Our house was like that. I did exactly the same thing. I had my bedroom, which obviously the door was shut, so that's where my altar was, with some slightly, if you like, freakier things that kids would think, the
Yeah.
skulls and stuff.
You got
Have
freaky stuff in your bedroom,
got
Vic.
freaky stuff in my bedroom, I know. I'd
What
have that out of the
skulls
way
do
of
you
small
have in your
children.
bedroom, Ben?
Yeah, keep it PG
You know
downstairs.
what though? But the kids, well, they actually love it. When I have
Yeah.
kids around here, like well, the crystals. I mean, I've lost a lot to the kids because you have to give in to them, don't you? But I know
Yeah.
you're not a huge crystal person, Vic. But yeah, they love all the weird and wonderful. Well, obviously, whatever freaky is in Vic's room isn't for children.
But I think Anon's right in the sense that you don't want to put your children's friends off because, oh, we went to the weird house. So it does make sense. Yeah. Now my children are grown up and they've left home, and so I have things a bit more out in the open.
Yeah. I have a specific cabinet. I think I've shown you both that I bought from a charity shop, and I've got cabinets in there where certain jars are. Let's just put it that way, which I will not mix up those with any of my kind of positivity or kind of protection or ancestral things within my home. They are very separate, very contained and locked so that little fingers will not go entering without me knowing.
Yeah, that's where I feel privileged to have my literal space. Like this whole shed really is my altar, to be honest. But yeah, so I can keep all types of weird and wonderful. I had a friend down here last weekend, they came over. And I was like, do you want to come down and see the shed? She brought me loads of jars, actually. And then she got freaked out. She's like, because I showed her my duckling. She's like, it's a fucking baby duck. And I'm like, yes, it's a baby duck. But she was like, oh, somebody like squirming away. And I didn't have the energy. Well, I probably had too many wines. And then I showed her my drunk taxidermy mole as well. So yeah, I love that I can keep all my weird and wonderful shit down here.
Well, I've got a
Um,
question. Do you lock your shed when you're not in it?
yes, yeah, it's locked up.
You're not
Um,
going to get the random local thief going in thinking they're going to get a lawnmower and suddenly be confronted
well,
by
that
your
that
altar.
random thief will have a shock because
Put
I'll be
everything
down with it.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd be fuming. But what I do worry about is leaving my candles on, but let's not put that out in the universe, all right? Other common tools, athame. Do you guys have one?
No.
No.
Next question.
I've got like a, well, no, I haven't got an athame. I've got a selenite athame, which I use for cord cuttings. But athame is basically a knife, but it is more Wiccan based, I would say. It's part of
Yeah.
that practice and directing energy. I love a wand.
I
I've got
have
a million wands. But again, I think they're more modern. These aren't like folk traditional
Yeah.
type practices. So
I
I guess it
I
depends
just
on.
use sorry, I just use a standard basic nail. I think that I found in my garden that I've had for years that I carve my candles with. I've had it for years.
Oh, I love that.
And I had a wand gifted to me, which it's more display. It's there. Again, my two little Merlins love it, but I've never ever used it for anything connected to my practice. Like I said before, my wand, my wand is my finger.
Yeah.
There's too
Yeah,
many
I mean,
jokes in that, but I mean, well, you can see at the corner, I've got lots of wands, and I've just used some of my wands actually to make some beaters for my drum. But I use my wand more in terms of the correspondence of the wood. So I'll use
Yeah.
it to use as a grounding tool or within my practice. But they are really good at directing energy if you feel called to use it in that way. Same as an athame, a wand can be used in that way as well.
yeah, it can sort of focus. It can focus a bit of energy, and yeah,
It can.
absolutely. I'm gonna you on the podcast. You won't be able to see this, but that's my hand carved
Oh,
that
look
out
at that.
from.
Lovely.
But that wand,
Oh, I love that.
it's a walnut, and it's the family walnut tree.
Oh, is
Oh,
that? I must have.
beautiful.
So, and then obviously I've got carvings on that suits it. With regard to athame, no, but I do have a patinaed working knife. So it's patinaed, which means it's sort of black on and doesn't reflect light on one side, and the other
Yeah.
side isn't. And for me, that represents balance and the balancing the working that I'm doing. But it's a working knife,
Mm,
so that will go out and with me. That not generally in public. I mean, clearly, but that will go out in the garden with me.
yeah.
That will cut my threads that I'm using. It's a working knife. It'll carve the candles. I
But
don't have.
it's got magical energy attached to it around the balance
Yeah,
and things,
yeah.
which
It
is
has been
lovely. Yeah.
patinaed for me. Yeah. What I
But
what
yeah,
I did.
but these, I mean, these common tools and what we're talking about, again, I've got chalice on the list. It's not a necessity. We hear about them because of Wiccan practices that made them evolve into what people thought we had to have on our altars, an athame, a wand, a chalice. But chalices or cup, I mean, you can use a mug for goodness sake, but using a drinking goblet of some kind is used very much in deity work, right? When we're leaving offerings, but it doesn't need to be a fancy chalice, is my point. It could be just a little crystal glass that we had from our nan, and we're giving a drop of sherry on our altar space because it's got symbology around it. But it doesn't need to be a chalice. But a chalice specifically, I think, is more based around what Wiccans have within their altar space.
It can represent femininity as well, you know, that sense of the womb. I mean, I do have one, I'll have to show you a picture. It was my grandfather's and it's a very small crystal red jug. It's only small, but I will use that for more ancestral work and because of the connection. But as you said, if I want to add water to anything that I'm doing, I'll just use what I've got to hand, to be quite honest with you.
Folk practitioners, before
Yeah,
we
that's
all
what I was
had the
going to
name
say.
witches, like a common tool was thread. And not, I
Yeah,
mean, Vicky, I know you're a massive not magic fan, and I
huge
use
not
it
magic. Yeah.
sometimes, but thread and iron nails or nails, like you said, Anon, you've got a nail that you picked up at the garden, and that means more to you, like stones and natural objects again. The wand you've got is made from a wood that is very specific to a family tree. So all of those things hold much greater magical reference than just having the wand because it's a wand or just having the chalice because it's a chalice.
And
Yeah.
here's the thing. I think tools are where people think, right, I'm going to be a witch, and they go and panic buy stuff. I must have a cauldron. I must have this. I must have that. Actually, do you know what? If a tree has left you a nice stick because it's been windfall sticks, and you look at it and think, actually, yeah, that I can. I don't know where I'm going to put that. I've got one that I actually not quite sure what I'm going to do with it at the moment, but I know it's for me, so it's to the side, and I'm working it out.
Well, I'm thinking
But
I've chatted to Nevermore Aries about this, about doing a wand workshop. She's been waylaid in the US with some family matters, but we're hoping to catch up again. Hopefully, I've not given away too many secrets and she'll kill me. She's like, oh, I really want to do it, but we could, and this is it. You find a piece of wood and then you make that into something that's specific for you, because I do love a wand, but I love the correspondence of the wood and what it
Yeah.
means way more than the actual wand itself. And
yeah,
that's
and
what you're saying.
I
There's
think
a
when
piece
you
of wood,
yeah, absolutely, and I think when you craft it, that becomes witchcraft.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a very simplistic way of putting it. There is the hands-on with it. I'm going to work with that wood, and I'm going to work out where it's the one that I've carved. Now, I'm not very good at sculpting. I'm not very good at sculpting. I'm not very good at carving, but I worked with the wood. I got to know the wood. I held it. I imbued it with me. We worked together.
Yeah.
And that means so much more than purchasing one, to be fair.
Yeah.
And asking the trees as well.
Yeah.
It's important to build up that relationship. Ask for a gift. Go back the next day. And if you don't find that specific wood from the tree that you really, really want, there's a message there. Craft is about patience as well. It's about understanding you might want something, but you're not going to get it straight away.
It took, I'm trying to think how old. Oh, I would say about 8 years for the walnut to allow me to have a nice windfall and peace. And I gave a nice little offering for that, but I obviously wasn't ready for it. And when it turned up, I know why it turned up for me.
Okay, so pentacles, pentagrams, do you work with them in your practice? What does it mean to you?
Yeah, so mostly work with pentagrams. That represents the elements and spirit, etc. For me, that's how that works. I don't wear pentacles. I do happen to have one. So when I say I work with them, I do happen to have one on a pestle and mortar. And the reason I have that is because it actually looked kind of cool and I really liked it. And it works well for me. So, but I don't necessarily work
Is
with
it this
them
pestle and
a
mortar?
lot.
Is
No,
it?
but I'll show you it.
I'm sorry. I've just, for those who can't see, I've just gone down on my desk and I've got a pestle and mortar that has got a pentacle on it. Ah, look at that. But you've got
Mine's a black one with a
a
little
marble
white.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got one, but I can't show you. I'll have to send a photo.
Well, no,
It's a
because you're the
wood one,
foxy
though.
lady. I love this. It's so deep, this pestle and
That
mortar.
is
I
a
love it.
nice one. Mine tends to sort of splurge out. So
Yeah.
you can smush stuff and it kind of splurges out. But yeah, so you'll find I wanted a little pestle and mortar, happened to find one in a witchy shop, and so it happened to have that symbol on it. So that works for me. That's fine.
Okay, Anna, what about you? Do you work with pentacles, pentagrams?
Yeah, with both. So I do believe that they are closely related, but they're not the same. I do wear a pentacle because I do find it hard personally to find a pentagram jewelry without that circle in it. But the circle is part of the protection, and it's protection from energy entering towards me, if that makes sense. So I don't view the circle as containing the pentagram's energy. I view it as protecting me, and from certain energies that I have specifically requested it to do, and to protect me from. And I wear that daily. I do not take it off at all. I love the pentagram. I love the symbology of it, that continuous line, how we draw it, whether it's up or whether we're bringing the line down to us. I adore that. But with regards to the pentacle, we do see this a lot in the kind of old church designs. And a lot of the time there was a circle there because it was easier to construct and it allowed the stability of the star to be there, to exist as they thought for eternity. So as much as, the pentacle might be classed as a very modern sign, I still value its shape. And I still value the idea of the circle. And
Yeah.
I value the star and the circle as harmony, as balance, and coming together to work with myself with what I need it to be. Does that make sense?
No, it really does.
Makes
And
a
I
lot of sense,
and this
yeah.
is where our thoughts and education changes, right? Because my understanding of the pentacle is that it was constructed more so modern day by occultists in ceremonial magic as a way to protect the energy. But that's my understanding. But from what you said, Anon, you've got a different understanding, so it resonates in a different way. It's more like a protection for you. So I will only ever wear, apart from this ring, because it's the design, because you can't really have a point on a ring, I will only ever wear a pentagram because it's, for me, or what I currently know, like way more ancient. It dates back thousands of years, whereas the pentacle was much newer. But now it makes me want to go away and
Yeah.
understand it. And please let us know in the comments if you guys have got any more education on it. But I thought the pentacle was more around ceremonial magic rather
Yeah.
than an ancient symbol of protection.
Yeah, and whereas I understand it as the language usage changing with modern times
Ah,
on the flip side of things, but within archaeology and history, actually both were used.
yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, it
Mm.
looks like we have all got different viewpoints, which is again a nice, interesting part of the practice, right? Because, and it's always useful to keep your mind open to that. Just because you think you know something, actually, is there something different that we should learn about? Now I'm going to go away and read about that tonight. Okay, so types of witchcraft then. This is a very popular way to I guess label ourselves on social media. There's lots of witches that identify as a different type of witch. I know for my practice online, I call myself a Celtic earth witch, which is absolute nonsense. It's not even a thing. I've made it up for my own practice, but I'll come on to that in a second. Vicky, do you want to go first on, should we talk about folk witchcraft?
So that's more of an everyday practical, what actually works in a real house with real responsibilities in a real life,
And,
and
well,
the
that's
history
what,
behind it.
well, that's what a
That's
folk
as simple as
practitioner
that.
was, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Because it was like everyday practice. It was based on like survival and practical work. It wasn't like
absolutely. Yeah.
the spiritual aesthetic stuff that we see today.
I
It
would
was
love
more
to say
grounded.
there is magic within it, but I'd love to say it was far more sparkly wands and etc. than actual survival, making sure the practical stuff was done. And interestingly, whilst I'm called the Wheelie Green Witch, I was called Green Witch by other people. So it's easier for them to know that I tend to work with plants and the land. So people have got more of an idea. I've got a label, so people have got more of an idea of where I work. I'm actually more of a folk practitioner.
But you're just a witch too, right?
But I'm just a witch, yeah.
And that was, I
A
think,
bit of
something.
kitchen, a bit of this, a bit of that,
Yeah,
and it tends to come into folk practice.
yeah.
But folk practice moves into the modern world as well, because there is a hierarchy of people saying, "Oh, this isn't traditional." But the thing is, it always evolved. It evolved with the times. So yes, I'm the Wheelie Green, and I'm a green witch. That's more for other people to know roughly where my practice lies.
And that's something I think all three of us are passionate about, that none of it, like witchcraft doesn't have a label. But if we're talking about what it looks like for people to understand, there are labels that and a green witch is somebody who works with plants and in their garden, which is what you do. But I know full well there are other parts of your practice that are definitely
Yeah,
not green,
yeah.
because you are just a witch and you practice with everything like me. I'm not a kitchen witch. Who am I kidding? But I do love a good simmer pot. So what does that suddenly mean I can't be a Celtic witch? And what about you, Anon? Anon, actually, what type of witch are you
Yeah,
if you
what are
had
you?
to? Yeah, what are you?
Ah, isn't witch enough, if you don't mind?
It is.
Yeah, exactly.
What it is. Well,
Ah,
that's what I said. We all align on that point. But
yeah.
is there anything that you steer towards more so?
I was thinking about this. If I had to, I'd probably call myself a spirit witch.
Oh,
Oh,
I love that. I want to be a spirit witch.
so your label now is a bit boring. I could have a better one.
And that sounds so much better. Oh, I love that. But why? Okay, without me being all jealous of your newfound witchcraft, why do you lean more towards that?
Spirits have been part of my life since I can remember. Spirits have always been there. I've always seen, I've always felt, I've always heard them, and still do to this day. But it's also about my practice, especially with that, being Welsh, living in Wales and the Welsh folklore, the spirit of the land, the spirit of the place. it means so much value to me. It holds so much value. And I think it's really important that we value ourselves and our practice, that when you were both mentioning, perhaps one day I am a kitchen witch when I'm making that family meal for people. Maybe the next day I am that kind of death witch because there's been a bereavement of, a friend, and they're going through, that horrific emotional time, and I need to be there for them, and I need to console them, not as a witch, but as a person, as a friend, as a loved one. And then there might be another day where you are drawn to work with herbs, plants, and you might say, right, well, for this next hour or so, I'm a green witch because I'm going to spend the time in the garden. And it's important to recognize that. It's important to meander. It's important to recognize the flow of this craft. I mean, I think this whole idea of labeling is quite a modern idea. I think historically there probably were labels, but it was more accurate to say cunning person or wise man or woman, or someone who just knew a set of skills or had a specific knowledge. So I don't necessarily think that it's important, but it's a way of identifying, I suppose, what your set skill is, or perhaps what you specialize in.
I think it makes it easier for other people to sort of understand the practice that you do, or the majority of the practice you do. But it's when people call themselves, and absolutely no judgment, but when people call themselves an eclectic witch, are we not all eclectic?
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think green witch maybe just makes you sound a bit more friendly, and I've got some, really quite poisonous plants out the back.
Hey, I've got my belladonna seeds in my window right now. They're not
Foxglove
popping out yet, but yeah, they're in their pots.
Yeah.
But yes. Yeah, and I think that's, like I said, we are all very much aligned on that. And thanks, Anon. It's really interesting to know what you would call yourself, because I've got many names for you. Not for this podcast. But the point is, we don't need to call ourselves anything. And if you're ever questioning the different types of witchcraft, there are many, but never ever limit yourself, because this whole lifetime, if you just put yourself into a box, you're really then just closing the doors on so many other things. And it's just it's such a beautiful practice. Like, try it all.
Yeah,
Whatever you're
absolutely. Go learn
called to.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so in our listener question and our section Come Sit With Us, this week's question comes from Kim on Patreon. She has said, I'm a huge fan of the podcast. I obviously had to leave that bit in. I guess my question, forgive me if this has been asked before, but could you go through the basic foundation or structure to spells and wards? Not a specific spell, but more, is there a structure, components, general things to remember? I start to make my own, and in brackets she's put, I'm new to my practice. And I've been reading and trying to organize my thoughts, but I'd like to know if there's some basic guidelines in mind. What a bloody great question, Kim. And this is where so many practitioners, and I will call us all practitioners, all these people that keep calling them baby witches in my comments, please don't. We'll come on to that another time, but you're not a baby, you're a beginner, you're a practitioner. And if you never cast a spell, you're still a practitioner. But if you're scared to cast a spell, then don't be. So hopefully we will break some of this down. I've taught this actually quite in detail with many of my students on my one-to-ones. So I've got a whole method that I go through, which I will come to in a second. But Anon, what's your views on constructing spells? What should we think about first as a beginner, and not to break down this fear factor? I don't want people
I know.
scared. Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you for the question. I don't like the term beginner. You both know that. I view it more as you're remembering. That's all I'll say on that for now.
No, good point. Thank you.
There is no correct way for me anyway. It's about the meaning more than the aesthetics, but it's practice makes perfect. This is what a spell is, practice and practice. So to keep it simple, it doesn't have to be fancy. Keep it meaningful to you. So step one would be, what do I want? Ensure that it's clear, concise, and I'm going to swear, let's make it fucking realistic. All right? That's
Yep.
step one.
So we're
Step
not
one.
asking to win the lottery, is what we're saying.
Well, we can put it out there, but let's be realistic. Number two, choose the action that you want to place within it. So that might be, what can I honestly do in my real life to assist this spell? What action can I place? Do you want to light a candle or use an object to place somewhere that you see every day? So it's your daily reminder. Or do you want to carry something with you like a charm? All of that I would class as some form of action. Number three would be your focus. Be present in the working. No distractions. Imagine what you were asking for to be literally unfolding as you were doing it. It's already happening. Feel the emotion as if it has happened. You can also incorporate words out loud if it's safe to do so, or internally. You can write words down on a piece of paper or draw a symbol, sigil, whatever you want to call it, right? Lastly, do not obsess over this. Close down. I know there's a lot of people that say this, but just like Elsa, let it go, man. Let it go. You've done your working,
Oh
right?
my
You've
God.
done your working. Give it to the universe. Give it to source. Give it to whoever you're working with, and let it go. And know that it is done.
Amazing. All I can think of is let it go. Let it go. But what, wow, and this is the thing about somebody trying to understand, because that will stick in their mind now.
Sorry.
It will, and I love this question because we haven't spoken at all about how we all practice. I've got no idea how Gail practices her workings. I had no idea how Anon does that. And this is going to be interesting because just see how we all do this.
Yep. I've been making notes actually. When Anon was going through it, I'm going through, I've got a little list that I kind of put together for this, and I've gone, right, that's how you do it. So yeah, go on then, Vicky.
Right. Do you want my list? This is my list that I put together for this.
Go on then.
Be clear about what you want and why you want that, so that you know what you're actually doing and why.
Yeah.
Okay. Not what sounds good, what you actually mean. Are you trying to feel calmer? What type of decision are you trying to make? Are we trying to change a habit? Are we trying to draw something in? Be clear about how you want it, what you want it, and how you want it to come into you, really specifically. Number two, choose something physical to anchor it for you. Doesn't need to be elaborate. Could be a stone, could be a candle, could be a cup of tea that you stir in a certain way, could be a plant, but find something to anchor that into you. Not work. Yeah, I always go to the plants and forget they're not work. So that's going to give your brain something to hold on to, and you're not just going to be thinking in circles. You're going to be focused on it. Obviously, there's correspondences with that as well. Give it your full attention, and your full. Just don't let it get interrupted. Okay, this is really, really important. Just take a minute, take a breath, ground it out, and just go with it. So I would say, if you can get all your bits and bobs together first, ground yourself first, get your bits and bobs together first, bring it all into one area, do what you want to do with grounding your space or whatever, however you like to practice that. I like to put music on. I have not random music. I don't have the radio playing. I like to find particular music for what I'm doing. Give it your full attention.
And when you're in your bedroom with your weird oddities, you have porn music.
Yeah, clearly. Just for the love spells. No. So give it your full attention. Do your thing, okay?
Oh my God. Okay.
That you are doing with your music going. This helps people remember it. This is great. Close it, shake it off, and leave it alone unless it's going to go on for a couple of days.
Oh my God, all I've got is like sexual references in my head.
A jizzle.
Okay, shake it off, leave it alone. If it's a one and done, be done with it. Is this going to help
Oh,
people to remember though? But
it is.
yeah,
It is. So we've got Let It Go from Alison, we've got Shake It Off and One
take
and
it off
Done.
with some porn music.
So interesting.
Oh,
Okay, so and do you know what? The reason that I guess we've all kind of constructed how we would do it is because it's second nature to us. Like, so when I teach my one-to-one students and I think about the things they want to know, I then go back to the drawing board and go, right, okay, how does that work out? So it is a really interesting thing to know that we all do this instinctively, which is why we've gone, hang on a minute, how do we go through
I
it?
actually
So
had to sit down and think about it and write a list.
yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
my view is clarity. I agree with you guys. You started on clarity. It's like, what do you want to call in? What is the reason you're doing it? What do you want to release? Like, what is the purpose? Like, have real clarity rather than just going, I want to do something. Just be really clear on what you want to do. And then it's about the emotion attached to it.
Yeah.
So it's not just like, what do I want, but why do I want it? How's it going to make me feel once I've got it? Because if you can really feel into that emotion, it becomes much more real as well. Like, and okay, so I want to release that stress that's been holding me back because I want to feel peace. And then I've got two things then that are already anchored. I've got real clarity about what I'm doing, but I really want to feel that way once it's done. And then for me, and again, this isn't optional, we've talked about this before, I'm a big correspondence girl. It's the colors, it's the herbs, it's the moon phase, it's the symbols. But correspondences amplify it, right? They are not essential. You don't have to have them, they're not required, but for me, it does work. So they don't create the magic, they just add to it. And for me, it's like layering up that work as I'm working through the reason I'm doing it, what I want to feel after I've done it. And then is the action. So how am I going to do it? Is it going to be emotional? So I want to use water. Is it going to be not magic, Vicky, which I'm assuming you do probably quite a lot?
Yeah.
Is it writing something and burning it down? Is it doing candle magic, which everybody is used to? I'm really into my water magic at the moment. I'm using a lot of emotional release with water. And it's so much more simple, but it doesn't resonate on social media, so I don't really share it that much. But is it the spoken word? Is it breath work? Is it what is the action we're going to use in order to get to the point we want to get to once we've got clear on what we want to do? How are we going to raise the energy? Now, raising energy in magic is a very complex and layered thing to explain, but actually, it could be visualization. I know some people can't visualize, but it could be your voice. You could be speaking out what you want to bring in. So you've got an incantation. It could be breath, it could be movement, it could be dance. You can't see me, I'm dancing. But when I'm working with my drum, there's a lot of sound and movement and physical movement in order to do some of my release work as well. So, how are you going to activate it? And then finally, we've all agreed on this, it's releasing it. Spell work, constructing it, bringing in what we want, and making sure we've focused all of our energy on it doesn't go anywhere unless you release it and let it go. Walk away. If we're attached to an outcome, it suffocates it. It's never going to happen. So we have to let it go. Let it go. And I'm going to start singing it at the end of my spell work. But joking aside, it could be like blowing out the candle. It could be pouring the water down the drain because it was releasing something. It could be throwing the stone into the water. Whatever the action is, burying it at crossroads. That has to be just as meaningful as when you started it. For me, well, actually, for all of us, we all really emphasize the release bit. So I think we were pretty aligned in how we do our magic. We may
We
have
did,
phrased
and
it slightly differently, but it was all pretty similar.
we've all pretty much said the same thing. And I forgot on my list when you were talking, I went, actually, I know I do that. I don't just use the emotion that I will feel when this is done. I'll actually use that raw emotion to put into that work in as well. Get it moving, get that energy moving. And I use my hands a lot. I draw the energy in. I
Yeah.
use energy orbs, all sorts of things. But it's moving that energy, making sure,
Yeah.
basically, isn't it? It's making sure you know what you're doing, ground yourself, bring the things together, take the action, move the energy, let it go.
And if you haven't yet, as a beginner practitioner, started to understand energy work, again, that could be a whole podcast episode that we could talk about because
Yeah.
creating, and it's something I'm doing in my course actually that I start this week. which will start before this before this episode goes out. But I talk about that, and it's kind of like this spark going, oh my goodness, I didn't even think about, because you see all of the herb throwing and candle lighting and bowls of water, but nobody talks about the energy that is attached to spark work. And that does take time. You can't just start going into the swing of it. So again, we can talk about that as a whole episode.
And
Raising
imagination.
energy is different for everyone as well.
Yeah, it is. It's using your imagination. It's and that sounds namby-pamby, isn't it? But that's part of visualization. What do I want from this? How is this gonna
Oh, I love that. No, Alwyn, the Antlered Crown, has been talking about this quite a lot on socials lately. Like, he's been debunking the fact that imagination is actually, like, it is imagination. That is what magic is. But we've been taught to go, imagination is a childish thing rather than embrace it as a really magical tool.
And yet, who are the most magical beings on this planet? Children.
Those little rat bags that are coming into Anon's house causing chaos.
Absolutely, they're absolutely amazing.
It's in the outer house and home.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to Between Three Witches, Witchcraft in Plain Sight. If this episode resonated, you are welcome to sit with it, share it, or let it unfold in its own time. You can find me, Vicky, and Anon on all the social media platforms. We will tag them in the show notes. But until next time, may your practice meet you exactly where you are.